Hey guys, welcome back to this Flutter game development series where we are making a 2D top-down space shooter called Space Escape using the Flame engine. So in the last video, we added support for multiple types of enemies, with each enemy having its own speed and move direction. But right now, to destroy any one of them, only a single bullet is enough. And also, all of them add only a single point to the score when destroyed. This feels a little boring. So to make the gameplay more interesting, in this video I'm going to implement a simple hit point system. And with this hit point system, enemies with higher levels will require more bullets to be destroyed. But before that, I'll make some changes to the enemy class such that it will award correct kill point to player instead of just increasing score by 1. First, let's open up the enemy.dart file. Here you can see that we have this enemy data which contains kill point for current enemy object. So in the destroy method of this class, when we call player.addToScore, instead of using this hard-coded value of 1, let's use enemy_data.killPoint. This will make sure that enemy score is increased correctly depending on the enemy being destroyed. Next, to indicate how much health each enemy has, I'll add an integer field called hitPoint to this class. I'll keep its initial value as 10. Next, in the constructor of this class, after initializing the speed, let's initialize hitPoint as enemy_data.level times 10. And as I only have 4 levels of enemies, the max HP an enemy can have is 40. Now that we have hit points for enemies, we'll have to make sure that we destroy an enemy only when its health reaches 0. Before that, let's go to the onCollision method of this class. Here, you can see that we call destroy method on current enemy if other entity is either bullet or player. But now, here we just have to reduce the enemy health depending on the type of other entity. So first, I'll separate this OR condition into an if and else if check. Now in the first if check, we'll just have to reduce the hit point value by some amount. And this amount can be any value that we want. But since we also support multiple types of player spaceships, with each having its own level, it makes more sense to dynamically decide this enemy damage amount depending on the level of current spaceship equipped by player. This means, here, inside this if check, we'll somehow have to figure out the level of spaceship that fired this bullet. And this can be easily done by storing that data inside the bullet itself. For this, let's first go to the bullet class. Here, I'll add an integer called level. And since this data will not change once initialized, I'll mark it as final. Next, let's add this field to the constructor as a named parameter. And since all these inputs are necessary for a bullet, I'll mark all of them as required. Then next, in the player.dart file, we'll also have to modify the bullet creation code a little. So here, in the joystick action method, I'll first add the new required level parameter for both these bullet constructors. And now, we can set this parameter as spaceship.level. This will make sure that the bullet knows the level of spaceship that fired it. Now back in enemy.dart, instead of having some random value for enemy damage, we can use other.level. Here, it is perfectly fine to access .level on other because we know for sure that other is an object of bullet. And as enemy hit points are in multiples of 10, I'll multiply this value by 10 too. What this essentially means is, a player spaceship of level 1 will have to land 3 bullet hits on an enemy of level 3 to completely destroy it. Next, in the else part, if other entity is player, I'll set hit point directly to 0. This means when an enemy collides with player, it loses all its health. And finally, to make sure that we actually destroy current enemy if its health reaches 0, we'll have to make some changes in the update method. Here, what we can do is, we can check if current value of hit points is less than or equal to 0. If this condition is true, we can call destroy method. Now we can test these changes to make sure that it works. But before we start the game, I'll quickly comment out this code which initializes enemy speed. It will make it easier to test if some enemies do really need multiple bullet hits to get destroyed. Okay, and as you can see, some enemies are indeed taking more hits before getting destroyed. This confirms that our code is working. But as you can see, we can't really tell how much health is left for an enemy. So let's make some changes so that the enemy health gets displayed along with the enemy sprite. So for that, I'll add one more field to enemy class. This will be of type text component. And I'll name this as HP text. To keep it in sync with initial value of hit points, let's initialize it with a text of 10 HP. And for the style of this text, I'll copy the text paint from one of the text components of game.dart file. Next, to make sure that this text component is displayed in the game world, I'll go to the onMount method of this class and add it as a child to current enemy component. This will make sure that all the transformations applied to current enemy will also get applied to the HP text. Next, in the constructor of this class, once we set hit points to correct value, let's use string interpolation to set hptext.text correctly. Same thing will also have to be done in update method so that the text of text component remains in sync with hit points. Now let's do a hot restart and see how it looks in the game. Okay, and as you can see, we do get the text component for each enemy. But right now, the text is completely upside down and is overlapping with the enemy sprite. So to fix this, in the onMount method, before we add HP text as child of current enemy, I'll change its angle to 180 degrees or pi radians. And to see the effect, I'll save the code and resume the game. And now you can see that text component for all the new enemies is oriented correctly. Then next, to place the text component just behind the enemy sprite, I'll set hptext.position to vector2 of 50, 80. If you are using your own sprites, these values might not work for you and you'll have to play around with them to get it right. So now you can see that hit points are correctly being displayed and updated for all the enemies. I'll now uncomment the speed initialization code from enemy constructor. Now all this is good, but you might have noticed that right now all types of enemy are spawned right at the beginning of the game. This will make the game too difficult for a first time player right from the beginning. And this is happening because in the spawn enemy method of enemy manager class, we are randomly picking enemy data from the full enemy data list. There are a lot of ways in which we can control this selection based on players' progress. But for this series, I'll keep it simple and will make selection of enemy data dependent on current score of player. This means enemies of a certain level will only be spawned if current score of player exceeds a certain value. So to do this, first thing that we need here is player's current score. But current score is available only inside player component and cannot be directly accessed here. As current score is the data which we might also want to access outside the Flame game, it makes sense to have it as a part of player data. So let's go to the playerdata.dart file. Here, I'll add a new integer field called current score with initial value of 0. Then next, in player.dart, when we update score inside the add to score method, I'll also update playerdata.currentScore with current value of score. And now back in spawn enemy method of enemy manager class, we can get player data using provider.off method. Here, for the build context, we can use gameref.buildContext. Now, as this build context is of nullable type, I'll add an if check to make sure that it is not null before we access it. And all this enemy creation code will now have to be moved inside this if check. Now, as we are sure that build context is not null, I'll add a not at its end so that it gets casted to a non-nullable. Once we have the player data here, we can use .currentScore to get value of current score here. Next, to decide an appropriate value of max level of enemies that should be spawned based on this current score, I'll use a method called mapScore to max enemy level. This method will take current score as input and return a max level. And obviously, we'll have to define this method to make it work. So in this method, first I'll create an integer called level with initial value of 1. And this level will be the return value from this method. And in between these two lines, I'll add some if checks to decide the value of level depending on the current value of score. As in my case, the max level of enemies is 4. I've used 1500, 500 and 100 as the triggering values of score for level 4, 3 and 2 respectively. Now back in spawn enemy, once we have the max enemy level that is valid to be spawned, we can remove this enemy data list.length as input to nextInt and use max level times 4 as upper limit of the random integer. Again, this times 4 is something very specific to my case, because I have only 4 types of enemy per level. It might not work for you if your list is different. For example, in my case, if max level turns out to be 2, the input to random.nextInt will be 8, which means elements only from 0 till 7 from the enemy data list can be selected. Now before I forget, let's also set the listen property to false in this provider.off call, as we are accessing it from outside the widget tree. So now let's save this and hot restart the game. And as you can probably tell, only enemies with level 1 are getting spawned right now. To check if this is really working, I'll pause the game and change the default value of level inside this function to 4. And if I save this and resume the game, you can see that now enemies of all the level types are getting spawned. So let's revert back this change. Okay, so that was the main part of this video. Now before we end this, let's upgrade the Flame package from release candidate 12 to 13, because there is a breaking change with latest version. So first, let's go to the pub/spec file and change Flame version from RC12 to RC13. Then I'll save this and wait for the pub/get to complete. Next, in the game.dart file, you can see that the code where we set the shake intensity of camera to 20 is now no longer valid. If we want, we can now use default shake intensity here. But that is probably not the correct way to do things, because shake intensity should be controlled by the code which actually requests camera to shake. So I'll remove this line completely from here. And then in player.dart file, in the onCollision method where we call gameref.camera.shake, we can now control shake intensity using the intensity property. So I'll set this to 20 and then run this code. Now just to check if camera shake is working correctly, let's collide with some enemies. And yes, as you can see, it is still working fine. So that was all for this video. I hope you enjoyed it and learned something new. If you did, do hit that like button and maybe consider subscribing for more such content. I hope to see you in the next one.